Hello, everyone. I hope that you're having the most incredible day. Welcome back to Reignite Your Soul podcast. I am your host, Laura Plahuta, and I am super excited for this episode. We have episode 3 already of this season, which it's crazy and going by so quickly. And I'm just so excited to be continually having these conversations. If you guys are on here live with me, say hello. We are doing these live on Instagram. On my Instagram at Laura Plahuta. So if you're catching this on the podcast, then feel free to tune into Instagram and you can join us live. If you guys are on here live, hello. Feel free to chime in on the comments. This is so exciting. I have such an incredible guest here today, and I am very excited to have her on here. She has actually been a mentor in my life and a really good friend for the last, I believe, 6 years. And she was very pivotal, helping me to really help align with my own self and start getting into personal development. And she actually was the very first person who gifted me a personal development book. What is it? You're a Badass or something like that by Jen Sincero. That was my very first personal development book that I read. And Amelie gifted it to me with a beautiful little handwritten note in the beginning of the book. And it was just so special to me as I was going on my journey. So I'm very excited to have her on here. So she is on here, so I'm going to join her in. And here we go. Hi, Rana. Hi, Sylvia. Hi, Adam. So happy you guys are on here.
Hello.
Oh, hello. I love your outfit.
Thank you so much. I was nervous to show up with my outfit. Can I tell you the story about the outfit very quickly?
100%. It doesn't even have to be quick.
Well, hello everyone, and thank you so much, Laura, for inviting me. I'm so honored. How's the lighting, by the way? Am I okay? I see myself dark, but do we have enough light?
It is a little bit dark, but that's okay.
Okay, I'm good. I'm gonna pump it up. I just pumped some more light. You gotta like the screen. Okay, well, yes. There you go. I got out of the shower and I was like putting music, getting ready, and then it was time for clothing. I don't know why I said that today. It's not like I say that all the time. I walked in the closet and I said, what does my soul want to wear today?
Yes.
And then right away, my soul went and said, this pink top. I'm like, oh, this pink, this vibrant pink top with feathers. And then it's like I got the yes, like the internal GPS yes. I'm like, okay, okay. I guess we're really pushing through. So that is what. But I'm just being honest with you. I've only wore it one time, and this is outside of my comfort zone because it's actually pushing me to be vibrant in my authentic way. So that's the story. So thank you. I appreciate the compliment.
I love that so much, Emily. Thank you for sharing that. And I told you just before going here, I went to Toulouse to go, and for everybody that wasn't in the conversation with me and Emily earlier,
we had a pre-podcast. Yes, exactly.
The pre-podcast chat. Yeah. I went to Toulouse because I'm on background for a movie tomorrow, and had to go get some retro outfits, and I'm in there, and it's so fun going in there. And I love doing it for movie sets and stuff like that too, because I get to be whoever the heck I want to be. And just find all of these fun, funky outfits and all of this stuff. And it really expands my wardrobe. And I'm before it was the same thing where I would always even wearing this, I would always be in Lululemons or in fitness clothes and stuff. But now it's so fun to be able to put on different outfits where you feel good. And I love how you said asking your soul, and it was a heck yes for that outfit, and not worrying about anything else that's going on in the outside environment or what other people are going to think or say or all those things. And really just following what we want to wear and what feels good to us. So that's perfect. And it leads us so perfectly into the topic of what we're going to be talking about today.
Yes.
All about self-worth. And we're also going to chat about quantum healing, energy healing, anything else that comes up. Before we go into that, I would love to just be able to introduce you. I did a little bit, but Amelie is absolutely just amazing. Everybody who is on here with us. She is a master transformational life coach. And she is a Reiki level 2. I did put Reiki master, but she had corrected that she is a Reiki level 2 and a quantum healer, a hot babe, obviously, and a badass.
That was a joke. I texted Laura, the hot babe and badass, and she's like, I'm totally putting that in the description. And then I said, then I checked in again. See, I checked in. I'm like, yes, Amelie. Yes, why not?
Yes. Yes. Yeah, you 100% are. Like, look at you. I love that.
So
And
are
it's
you.
fun, like, not keeping it so serious. Like, I know, like, on the last couple episodes, I'm like, I really don't care about labels. I'm like,
Yeah.
I just intuitively know in people, like, there's
Yeah.
value here. And in society, we put so much, like, there's a lot of, I guess, like, this hierarchy with, like, education and labels and all of this stuff. And honestly, like, just having conversations, you learn so much. Everybody has such a big, vast array of knowledge with the things that they're passionate about.
Definitely.
And we can learn so much from just having these conversations. So besides all of that other stuff, obviously she's a hot babe, she's a badass, and she's just an overall incredible human being. So I'm very excited to have this conversation today.
Thank you so much. And I reflect right back at you. We're literally mirrors for each other. So thank you for seeing me, and
100%.
I see you very much.
Thank
Very
you
much
so
so.
much. Very much, yeah. I love it. So I guess before we kind of pop into this, I'd love it, Emily, if you just share a little bit about your own journey
Hmm.
with your self-worth and kind of what has been some pivotal moments for you kind of coming to where you are today,
Hmm.
because we see you and you're so bright and so lovely and just so
Hmm.
inspiring. And we all know that that is what we see because that's that mirror back to us. But we all have this inner shadow inside that sometimes we in society do not like chatting about, yet we all have it.
Right.
And
Right.
really being able to normalize that is important to me.
Yeah, it's funny you ask me that because I just recorded a video prior to that, which was saying that last week I had a very, very, very challenging week, a week where I just wanted to give up. That everything I was trying to do was so hard. It was so hard, Laura, that I was going through literally a dismantling of my old self, the breaking down point. And this week my soul is expanding and I'm even more connected and in alignment. So I love that you said that because I'm committed on this journey to not always share the bright and positive and like woo, but I'm committed to also invite people in into like
Yeah.
there's also the whatever, as much as you see the high, there's a different level sometimes of that, and that is
Yeah.
called, that's the process. So I just wanted to share that. What can I share? I think as long as I can remember, Laura, like since like when I was a little girl, I never felt enough. I never felt enough. I never felt enough in, like, it didn't matter in school, like in elementary school, it never mattered. Even if I did my very best at like doing a drawing contest because I really wanted to win the beautiful crayons. I wanted to win the package. Do you remember that? Like the big pack. I don't know if they did that in your generation, but in my generation, we had a coloring contest. And if you won
Oh,
first and second and third position, they had companies that would gift those baskets of like amazing crayons. And I
wow.
wanted them. I wanted them every year, but every darn years there was a competition and there were people in my class, they were more artistic in the drawing way. And I could never win that. And I remember, it's so sad. I remember one year thinking like, it's gonna happen. I'm gonna win. Like I know I put my heart and soul in it. And then it just so happened that I didn't win again. And for some reason, that moment I internalized,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter how hard you try, Amelie, you will never be enough. Like no one told me that. This is something that I internalized that. And
Yeah.
that was for that, and then for so many things. And then on a different coin of that, whenever I would dare to show up in my bold, vibrant, uh, I didn't want to say obnoxious, but I guess I was for some, like in my bold, self-expressed unicorn way. Wow, that part of me, which is
Yeah.
so, I have this huge vibrancy inside me. When I dare to let her out, oh my goodness, I internalize that I'm too much. I
Yeah.
am too much, that people cannot hold this container, that every time I'm there, then they feel they are seeing me, and therefore I must tone it down. I am too. So it was a constant cycle of I'm either not enough or I'm too much, and then it goes back. Then it started at 12 years old. I still remember, like I I don't know if you can relate to that part at all, but like for me, I hated my body, 12 years old. And
Mhm.
I was a beautiful little girl, but I just had started not to like my body because my body didn't look what the programming society of what was supposed to be beautiful and acceptable.
Mhm.
So from that age up until only the past recent years, I was in a constant mental, like some years it was like every seconds of every day I like it was like a self-hate. You wouldn't know that. It was within me and
Yeah.
myself. It was inside where it was a constant thing. So I just, it didn't matter what I did. I was always like, okay, I'll lose 10 pounds, then I'll be happy, then I'll feel enough. I'll do this, I'm gonna do that, I'm gonna take another course, then I'm gonna feel, I'm gonna show, I was constantly looking for the approval of others. I didn't know I was. This is the
Mhm.
thing. I didn't know that I was looking for approval. But
Yeah.
by everything that I did or the way I would show up, I was waiting for the outside validation, and that's kind of like where it is. And yeah, that was the beginning of that. And then after that, it was like the waking up as to I'm stuck with myself. I think we shared that on one of the first podcasts. Do you remember when I shared the story? It was like I realized like, oh my God, I am me and I'm stuck with myself for life. So I better do something about it. I don't know if you remember that.
I don't remember that specifically, but I
Yeah.
will put the other episode down in the comments so people can check
Yeah.
that one out as well, and maybe I'll rewatch
Hmm.
it too.
That's so sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of that's where I am. But like, let me know. Like, I don't know if you can relate to any of that
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, I definitely can. It's interesting too how we kind of have like the upper and lower limits that we kind of keep ourselves in between these things and we just suppress ourselves and we're not our true authentic selves in
Right.
that, all from these outside perspectives. But it's so interesting because like you said, it's all internalized. So from the outside looking in, you would never know. And I
Yeah.
had the exact same thing. And even still now, I still have that when I am my full authentic vibrant self. Like it's a big energy. Right?
Big,
Like
big
it's
energy.
it's a big energy. And sometimes even just the energy alone, if people aren't ready for it, like it will repel and attract. Right. And that's like, I know, you know that, like, that's how energy works. We will attract what we need in that moment and we will repel. And it's just how the laws of the universe work. But when you don't understand that, you're like, oh my gosh, am I too much? Like, am I like not enough? Like, why are, and we want all this outside validation just to be, receive that love or that acceptance, like to know that we are worthy of being here on this planet, which
Right.
is so crazy. But yeah, it's all just like our own inner workings that we create. And it's all a part of the human journey. So I definitely resonate with everything that you shared with that.
Hmm. That's beautiful. And yes,
Yeah.
you do have this beautiful, powerful energy. Yet you also have that energy, Laura, that you have such a big capacity for holding for people.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Mm-hmm.
you have this dance, right? Which is admire. It's beautiful.
Thanks,
It's beautiful.
Emily.
You're welcome.
Yeah, it's interesting too, with the like the different polarities as well. How you were sharing about like the depths. Like, yes, we have these high highs, but then there is also those polar opposites of the low lows. And I know they always say in the coaching space, the deeper we go within ourselves, is the deeper that we can hold space for others, and the deeper that we can hold space for our clients, and the deeper that we can hold space for humanity and the collective as we're moving through this. So
I
I
just
would
got
love,
goosebumps because that's it. That
yeah,
is exactly it. The deeper
yeah.
you go, the deeper you're willing to wound to heal those hidden little misunderstandings and wounds
Hmm.
within yourself.
Yeah,
You get to help someone else do the exact same thing.
exactly.
Literally.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's scary when you're like digging into those depths of yourself, right? I remember like always wanting to kind of distract myself or keep busy in the doing side of things instead of actually sitting with myself, because when I was with myself, it was uncomfortable and I was feeling those uncomfortable emotions in my body, or I would be hard on myself, and all of those thoughts and the internal workings would just make you feel so heavy and dense inside that you almost try to run away from yourself. Right. So I guess like any advice that you have for people that are wanting to start exploring that inner
Yes.
shadow of life, because it really is, if we keep running away from ourselves in that, or we keep ourselves busy, or we keep staying within these behavioral patterns or routines that are our comfort zone, we're never really expanding into our full potential of what we can possibly be in this lifetime. And I say what we can be in this lifetime because it's not like, yes, we will be doing things and creating massive things in our life, but it really is the person, from my perspective anyway, the biggest thing is the person that we are being while we're doing what we're doing. and the impact that we make just by simply being ourselves. It's not about the accolades. It's not about the big successes. It's about who we're being. So if you have any suggestions or advice, or even like personal experience from yourself and what you have done in order to really allow yourself to sink into that shadow space of being able to explore deeper within yourself, so that you could experience that polar opposite, so that you could reach those high highs that you now experience.
That's beautiful. Yes, I have something that just came up. I think it was it was 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks ago, something happened that brought a lot of shame. My dog jumped the fence in the backyard and went for another dog that he hates, that he has already attacked 2 years ago. That brought a lot of shame in my life, like as if I did it, as if I did this. But he went. Thankfully, everything's okay. Thankfully, the dog's everything's okay. But that event, again, it woke up. I'm sharing that story because this is what healing is. You're living your life, situation happens, and there's a little trigger. Something gets waken up inside you because it's knocking. It's saying, hello, I'm still here. We haven't unprocessed. Are you going to make time for me? So this is what happened. The dog jumped the fence, it went. And then I'm dealing with everything. So I guess what I'm trying to share is, number one, if you want to heal yourself, set an intention to become an observer of yourself, first and foremost, without judgment. But like, could you observe what experience you are doing in this moment? Like right now, can you observe? Like I'm observing myself. Okay, here's Amelie. I'm doing this interview right now. Can I observe myself? Right? Observe yourself. So what happened with my dog is he came back, dealt with that. When that same situation happened 2 years ago, I was immediately in tears, crying. I was really it was horrible.
I can remember when that happened.
Okay, yeah, it was horrible. This time it happened, and I observed the situation after, and I was like, okay, this is what happened. Breathe. It's gonna be okay. We're gonna deal with that. Amelie, you don't need to go into the self pattern of it's not your fault. This was an accident. We can fix that. So I took some deep breaths because I had energy. So this is what healing is. I had some energies that wanted to come up, and I took some deep breath, and everything kind of settled. And I got this is how it gets. I got busy. And I got busy unconsciously. I'm busy. I got inside. I'm doing things. I told my husband, get the vacuum. Okay. So pay attention to what is it that you're doing. What is it that you're doing to run away? It's a beautiful awareness. What do I do when things get hard? Do I go start to eat? Do I go start to put something on Netflix? Do I call people? Do I vacuum? I vacuum for stress. This is one of my things. It's beautiful to become an observer. So I go there and I start vacuuming, and then all of a sudden I had this inside knowing that says, stop what you're doing. I just knew. So I that was literally 3 weeks. I stopped. I went to the mudroom. I sat quiet. I literally just paused in the being of the moment. And I said to myself, how are you feeling, Amelie? Boom. I made space. So suddenly I had more shame that needed to come up. Shame from, it wasn't just the situation that just happened with my dog. This time it's about other situation where shame showed up in my life. Yeah. So if you're listening to this podcast, I want you to know that this is what healing, this is what growing and expanding is. So if you're willing to make the space to welcome what is, to welcome the emotion, which is, the emotion is energy in motion, you know that. So it's just an energy. It's all it is it's asking to be seen, to be actually felt in the body, and to be released and transmuting. So my biggest hot tips that I have learned that has been, and I'm sure you know that, but for people who might not know, is number one, please don't judge yourself for any
Yeah.
thoughts and feeling that shows up. But like, can you lovingly embrace the part of you that are showing up, and then allow them to be without attaching stories of what that means about you? Like, I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't in the mudroom thinking, I'm such a bad dog owner and my dog. No, that's not going to serve me. I'm just being with myself and allowing whatever's coming through and really hold myself. Hold, this is
Mm-hmm.
healing. And I know a lot of people are not willing to go that, but here's the beauty is the deeper we go, as you said, the deeper we go, it's like I love to imagine that, like, my shame was like the shame, which is totally allowed because it's energy, and all energies and all emotions, everything is part of this human experience. It was just taking space. Okay, it was taking space still. And then when that situation happened, thankfully it opened up a door for it to come up, and it was up to me to decide to push it down, to numb it, to ignore it, or to allow it. But when it came and it
Yeah.
showed up and I did that, it just transmuted, and it got replaced with this beautiful, other beautiful energy of love within myself. So that is what we can all do. I don't know. Is that
Mm-hmm.
helpful?
That was incredible. Yeah. So many things that you said were just like so incredible. I'd love to know for you guys in the comments, like, what was your biggest takeaway from what Amelie just shared? Because there are so many golden nuggets with what you just shared about, like, running away from that discomfort within yourself. And well, first, I guess to go back, like, recognizing that healing happens for us all the time in our everyday life, right?
Yes.
And when these activations come up in our body, like, that's normal. We don't have to think that there's anything wrong with us when these
No,
things when these
no.
things come
I
up.
I keep thinking, I
Yeah.
get my whole body is goosebumps. I keep thinking it would be wonderful if when we were all littles, we had a little information that said, by the way, when things show up in your life, it's not because something's wrong, it's because it's healing within you. So when
Yeah.
that happened, remember that. Like,
Yeah.
imagine if we all had this, just that awareness. Because here's what I know is that whatever is coming for healing, if we could just be with it and allow it and presence and feel, we're moving through the problem, which I didn't know for the longest time.
Yeah.
Is like when you're in resistance of whatever's there, when you judge yourself, judge the situation, shame yourself. And then, like, if I would have been like, I don't accept what happened and I'm so angry. Now what are the neighbors all going to think? And I refuse it and I don't accept it. And why? And I had sent him to trainings, and how did this happen? And how could I have not this? I should have been better. Why aren't you better? Imagine if I did that, which I have.
Yeah.
I'm sure I've done this before years ago. I
Yeah.
now know, like, I don't allow space for that. But even if I did, that's also
Mm-hmm.
acceptable. Even if I was going to be having a big inner critic, that inner critic is allowed, as long as I decide to make space for it, and allow that, even the healing of that own inner critics. If that makes sense. Someone just commented something.
For sure. Yeah, Sylvia says willing to make space for what comes up. Huge for me. Yeah,
Yeah.
and then so then after, like, that awareness of you recognizing that self inner critic, or we can go the opposite way of, I know for me in the past that was something that where I would have all of these inner critic moments come up, which would create a discomfort in my body, and then I would just get to this careless phase of saying, like, oh, fuck that person, or start blame, and then you just disconnect from the situation completely. And then that is that other case of numbing and suppressing kind of what's going on, and not allowing, like Sylvia said, to make that space for yourself to actually feel and to tune inward to what is actually coming up for
Yeah.
that healing, which is massive. And like you shared too, like, going to all of those things and having awareness around the behaviors that you have when you are running from things. I know my mom always does that cleaning.
The
She's always
cleaning.
kind of like, Mom, you're cleaning again. And for me, like, I will overwork. I will like dive into work. Food is a big one, like, especially working from home. I have a co-working space up in my building now. So I go up there now because then I'm like, don't have the normal distractions, but
Right.
just going into the food, like opening up the fridge and be like, oh, what kind of snacks are there? Like, food is a huge distraction for me.
Right.
Being with people, like, just like being very social, is also a distraction. So having awareness around that distraction, because when we're still, we can recognize when we're carrying heaviness around in our body. And even, for example, of that, this morning I was carrying a bit of heaviness in my body, and when my mom and I were driving to Talise to go grab some of those outfits, I tuned in and I was like, this isn't going away. So I was like, my mom was talking and I just said to her, I said, Mom, I just need a minute to tune into what this is inside of me. And I named it. I said, it's frustration. I'm like, well, what is it that I want? And she ended up doing a chakra clear for me. And it was frustration that came up like quite a bit. And that's something that's an emotion that does come up for me quite a lot. So I've learned how to tune into it, and understanding that this frustration is heaviness as soon as I tune in and name what I want. And for me, one thing that I'm really wanting is to expand my business, and then also to call in and attract in my ideal partner, because I'm really looking for that in my life. And that was something that once I tuned into it, then I was like, oh my gosh, yeah, like our belief systems are so ingrained to make us feel like if we are single past a certain age, then we aren't good enough or whatever. And every single time I just had my birthday, my own was like, basically like, oh, are you going to find like your husband like this year? I'm like, yeah, I'm on it.
I'm on
right?
it.
I'm on it.
It's so funny today. It's so funny. Yeah, you just had your birthday. You just turned 30, correct?
31.
31. Happy belated birthday. Thank again. You, I wished it to you, but wow. And it's funny. I was in the washroom today and I had an idea. It was like, okay, Amelie, you're supposed to make a video. What would I tell my 30-year-old self? And I'm like, wow, to know what I know now and to be able to go back. I'm so excited for you to be where you are, 31, with this level of understanding and this level of like awareness and embodiment. I'm so proud of you. Like that Thank you. The fact that you're here, there, and you've done so much work already. Like think about like it's amazing. Like it's just amazing. Because I wasn't there when I was 30. I wasn't embodied the way you are now. I couldn't, because my life experience, and that's important to share, because that's so important to share, because I had a moment 2 days ago where I was thinking, wow, Amelie, you're not starting, but like I'm also expanding my business now. I left my career in June. So I'm like, this is career number.
Yes. Can we all celebrate Amelie? Like this is like massive. She's a flight attendant and she left her career to do her business full time. And I'm like so proud of you for that.
Thank you so much. I'm so proud of myself. And I'm like, I'm literally in this rebirth. I keep telling my kids, I'm pregnant. I'm about to give birth. My children are like, why this word is weird? I'm like, I'm pregnant with it. It's just so funny. And I'm telling you, last week in the breakdown, I truly, sincerely, when it got so hard, because I felt like I won't be able to figure it out. I won't be able to figure that vision that I have. Like I won't, like, it's so hard. So I said, I am going to surrender and go. I used to be a barista when I was 16 and I loved it. So I said to myself, I can go and be a barista 3 minutes from here. There's a Starbucks and I will be happy. Truly, I will be happy, because I love people and I love coffee and I love. And then I was crying, and then my son's like, I'm not gonna let you. He goes, is this your dream? I'm like, no, but I will love it. He goes, no, I'm not gonna let you. So I don't know why I shared this barista story. So please help me go back to why are we sharing that?
I'm not too sure, but I would love for you to chat a little bit more about your children, because your children are amazing.
Thank you.
Your children are so amazing. Ismael and Amaya, like they're just like the sweetest. The fact that your son, how old are they now?
15 now.
15. The fact that he's like, Mom, is that your dream? Well then no, like you're not settling for that. Like how incredible is that?
Sometimes he says things to me and I'm like, how do you know what to say to me? I feel like he's like literally channeling divine souls. Yeah, there's like something. It's like I don't understand it, but like, they're my number one supporter right now. Literally, like every time I'm great. I'm very honored to be their mom. Honest to God, if there's anything that I can encourage, this personal development makes you a better human, a better person. Therefore, a better all roles in our lives. Better daughter, better sister, better friend, better mom, better neighbor. Like when I say better, means like freer, more embodied, more like happier.
Yeah.
That's the better is what I mean. Is what I
Yeah.
mean.
Yeah. And yeah, it's huge. I guess like maybe we can, because I know before that we were chatting about like the self-awareness, to be able to have that the inner reflection and self-awareness. And that's why you had shared about the
Yeah.
barista story, but you wanting, like you wishing that you could have had that sooner.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that kind of prompts anything
Oh
for you to
yes,
share.
yeah. Like I wish I had that before in my 30s because yes, it's, yeah. I guess yeah. It's beautiful to, like if like to do an introspection and still ask yourself like, where am I still plugged into the programming of the
Yeah.
matrix, which is the society's programming as like this is how life is supposed to be. You're born, you go to school, then you go do this, and then you do that, and then you get a job, and then you get married, and then that's what you do, that like, and then those are all the programming. I guess it's beautiful to have this self-awareness to see where am I still plugged in. And the reason why I say that is because you said, oh, you said I felt frustration in my body, which is beautiful because you
Mm-hmm.
actually, you tuned to what that was. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's, if we could just do that, and that you tuned to what that was, and then you're like, oh, this is like frustration because I want this and I want that, and I feel like there is a part of you, not all of you, but there's a part of you that thinks that it should be here now,
Yeah, exactly.
or eager that it would be, which is totally fine because I have the same too.
Mm-hmm.
And but that's also all linked to, yeah, it's also linked to it's a to have a curiosity to say like, okay, is it, do I know without a shadow of a doubt that that these things need to be exact, that how do I know without a shadow of a doubt that this moment is not exactly what I'm meant to experience, right? And that I'm
Mm-hmm.
not exactly like, how do I know that I'm not where I need to be? Like, what if I
Yeah.
am exactly in this particular moment? And like, even just questioning, like, okay, so am I frustrated because that society starts looking at you when you are a certain age? And like, literally, it's those are like the programming.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
Like,
always stuff that's outside of ourselves that creates
uh,
these expectations and these rules of the way that we are meant to live our lives. But as soon as I recognized it and named it and had that exact conversation
yeah,
with myself and chatting with my mom about it, like
yeah,
it faded, it went away.
totally.
And and then you just
Because
move on.
you get
Hmm.
to recreate your new. I
Yeah.
remember after giving birth to the kids, I came home and they were at the hospital because they were premature. So I had to get ready and go spend the day there and feed them. And I remember this. Here's a moment where I'm in the bathroom and I showered again. The bathroom. There's a lot of things that are happening in bathrooms for me. There's dancing. There's crying. There's all kinds of things. Maybe for you too. And I'm in the bathroom and I'm getting dressed. And I'm putting my makeup, and then I'm about to put some big hoops or something, okay? As I'm about to do that, I'm telling you, and I look at myself and I pause and I take the hoops down and I'm looking at myself and I'm like, what is happening in this moment? I observe myself. I'm in this moment and I'm having an internalization moment where it says, can young mom wear heavy hoops earrings? Is this allowed? Is this okay? Trust me, I don't know where that came from. That was a programming that I got somewhere
Yeah.
unconsciously. So one of my programming was like, when you become a mom, then maybe you don't dress a certain way, and you certainly won't put funky, cute little earrings because who are you now? You're a mom. Oh, so I remember I put it down. I internalized it. Then I said, literally, I went through it. It was like a scan of like, it was like I'm scanning the computer, and then I said to myself, what do you want? Oh, fuck it. And but like, I'm telling you, this moment was like,
Yeah.
in this moment, I understood something, because remember, I when I was your age, that's when I had like I had my kids. I didn't have that awareness, but I remember thinking, that's so programming, and I don't want it, so I'm changing it, and
Yeah.
so it is.
Yeah.
That's powerful.
Yeah. Yeah. Huge. And that energy shifted, like, it's like with the strongest resonance always wins. So if the old
Right.
belief is stronger than what the new belief is, that one is always going to take hold of the programming within
That's
us.
it.
Whereas if you're just like, fuck it, like, no, like that doesn't feel true to me yet, and like shift it. And there is that other, the other process that like we have to go through of like accepting it and then forgiving ourselves for it, and like all of these other deeper
Yes.
layers to
Oh
it.
my God. I'm glad
Yeah.
you said the forgiveness part. The forgiveness part of anything, any judgment is huge. Like
Yeah.
that's like a big key, big key for that. The
Yeah.
forgiveness. That's like, it's like, I always call that in session. Like if you do all the work and you cry all you want, okay? You're like, I'm crying. Crying is not necessarily, it is healing, but it's not necessarily going to do like pure healing transformation is literally being able to, after being able to forgive any judgment you have about yourself and the experience and that moment. That's like the little cherry. That's a cherry on the sundae. That's the one that seals that seals the deal. That's the gravy of on the poutine, you know, with the cheese. That's like the,
Yes.
you know,
Poutines are the best.
oh, so good.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's interesting too, like, because everybody has their own different ways, and it's like I'm not a crier, and like the way that mine's always anger, and because it's
Mm,
I internalize it all toward myself as if I should be better or I should be doing things differently. So it's always that internalization of that. So for me, it's always anger, which is why I have my Helion running the liver meridian, which is where the frustration comes in. So clearing out the liver meridian a lot for me, either kidney, which is fear, or liver,
okay.
which is anger. And so like even like little things for me, and I don't know if you resonate with this, but like I know a lot of people that I work with as well, my clients, that's just the way that we I don't know, being a high achiever, like we just internalize a lot, and it comes through as anger for whatever reason with that emotion. And so
Right.
learning ways to be able to do that. Another thing that I did before we went into Belize was I grabbed my mom's sweater and I just screamed. I just
Oh,
screamed
that's amazing.
in the
That's
sweater, and
yeah.
oh my gosh, it feels so good. And it's all of these things that aren't deemed as societally acceptable. Like if you saw somebody just screaming in a sweater, you'd probably be like, what's wrong with this person, right? But it's like, think about the way that we've been programmed to deal with anger. A lot of the time we suppress it, we don't actually deal with it, and then it keeps bottling
Yes.
up, and that's why we have these big explosive things in our relationships or all of this stuff. Or we can learn little tools like that, like bringing the inner awareness to the actual emotion of what it is, being
Mhm.
able to express it in a healthy way, which I got started doing Muay Thai again, which I'm like loving so much.
Which is
And it's
beautiful.
such an incredible way to have that outlet. So it's different for everybody, but having that inner awareness and then being able to go out and explore and be curious as to what those ways are to be able to process those emotions are
Hmm.
huge. Because for me, whenever I start crying, my body just shuts down. It's like, nope.
It doesn't. It does. Is that right? It's
Yeah, I think because my parents would always like try to
yeah.
console right away, be like, "Oh, don't cry," you know. It's just that
Yes.
natural thing that they
Yes.
do
Yes.
is to
Yes.
stop Deb crying, realizing that that crying is actually like an amazing thing to be able to
Right.
allow
Right.
those emotions to be felt. So I feel like growing up, I skipped the whole feeling part where I
Yeah.
just never actually felt things. And that's why I suppressed so much. And I think that's why over the last 5, 6 years, I
You've
had
cried.
such a hard time because as soon as I did my ayahuasca, I started having things come up. And I was forced to feel all of these things for my entire life that I had suppressed down, and it made that journey so hard. But now, like, I'm so grateful for that journey because it allowed me to now be able to have that inner awareness and understanding of my emotions so that I
Yes.
could now do that. And I know that you said even in the beginning, the very beginning, you said that internal GPS. It's like we
Yeah.
never learn this stuff, that our emotions are
No.
legit an internal GPS for where we're
And
meant to
they're
go.
valid. And they are
Oh, they're so
valid.
valid. Yeah.
Like I love that you shared that, Laura, because I relate. I suppressed a lot of emotion in my childhood. I didn't know what that meant to be an empath. Not that titles matter. I didn't know there was such thing as
Yeah.
highly sensitive beings. I didn't know. If you don't know,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I didn't know what that meant. But I certainly was a. I am a person whose my heart is sensitive. I know myself, which means like I really have a hard time watching um, um, violence or things like I know myself now, but I didn't know that. So I felt I suppressed so much that
Mm-hmm.
I also like this healing journey. It's been going on for a long time because I things like I know even like in the beginning of my healing shadow work, I would cry, and things would come up, and I remember telling my husband, I didn't even know I felt that way. I didn't know. So it's like I had this moment where like, I don't know I'm upset. I don't know I'm angry, but like
Yeah.
it's just everything was like pushing and bottled up is exactly it comes up right for
Yeah.
for alchemy, for
Hmm.
alchemizing. Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. I honestly, I didn't know about empaths. It's just been the last few years I've really learned about
Hmm.
that and like what that actually is. And I was reading somewhere that it's only like 15% of the population of the world that is considered an empath. And they're actually finding that like it actually is it's like our, I don't know if it's our brains that work differently to make us that highly sensitive, which is why a lot of us are healers or and energy work as well, because we
Right.
feel so deeply. And it was the same thing for me when I was young, like always had the biggest heart, but then over the years I put on this tough exterior shell out of protection
The
in
protector.
order to not feel it. And then that way it's like then I didn't have to show that side of myself that was sensitive, because then you're showing your vulnerable pieces, and
Yeah.
that's where you can get hurt, where in the past you have those people that when they see your vulnerabilities they will expose those vulnerabilities, which will then like you will get hurt with it, like especially
Yes.
being young and being in switching schools when I was young and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It was that outer shell and allowing all of those pieces of you to fall and to really honor that sensitive side of ourselves, because it's a gift to be able to have that sensitivity. And in this society, it's a very hard society where there
Yeah.
hasn't been much space being held for emotions, and they've kind
Yes.
of just been shoved off. But yeah, it's an interesting journey being able to come into the awareness of the fact that you are a sensitive person, because I never ever would have thought that I was a sensitive person.
No, I didn't know, but now it all makes sense. Now it's
Yeah.
like, oh, now I understand what that means.
Yeah.
Okay, it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's huge. Um, hmm. Where to go from here? I guess here we go. Because we talked about like the inner awareness. We talked about like the behavioral patterns that kind of come up for you. We talked
Mhm.
about like a whole bunch of different things. Is there anything else that like from what we've shared so far, anything that you would like to expand on? Anything that's kind of coming through for you?
Um, I just want to like I want to tell like I guess I want to share that who anyone who's listening, like you're capable of your healing.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we think we're not capable, right? Did you ever think
Mm-hmm.
that you're not? It's never gonna make it. Like it's too hard. Like, have you ever thought that?
Totally. Yeah. There's been multiple times where I was just like, can we just not do this anymore?
Yeah. And if something is calling you forward to heal, please trust that. That is
Mm-hmm.
your invitation. That's the invitation because your soul knows. Your soul is always guiding you to where you're desiring to go, where you came on earth to do. What is it that's your mission? Where are you leading? And the soul is also going to orchestrate events and situation and moments to bring that awareness, for bringing to light to the shadow parts within ourselves, which are our
Mm-hmm.
wounds, which we all have.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like, oh, I'm done. I did this. I don't. You might have, and that's great, but we all have those wounds and they will come up every once in a while. It's like an onions, and every time that we do the healings, we remove some layers, but then there's many layers, just like a tree, right? So I guess I want this message like for if you're like in the middle of like, because I know how hard it feels like when you are in intense, think about Laura, like when you're in a breakdown healing, like it's just so
Yeah.
hard.
Oh, it's intense. Yeah.
It's so hard. So I just want to be sending an intentional loving thoughts and hold space for the part. And if we can just learn, if all you could do, like if you're watching this podcast today, I'm like, okay, what did I get out of that? Like what's one thing that I could like apply? Literally is how can that, in my perspective, is like how can you bring even more self love, self compassion for
Mm-hmm.
whatever it is that you're experiencing in your life? How imagine if you did that, how would your life and your experience of whatever you're experiencing be different?
Mm-hmm.
Like we are in, like I want to invite everyone on this journey, if it resonates, on this journey of like, I'm going to learn to, I'm going to learn to accept that which I don't accept yet. I'm going to learn to love that which I hate within me. I'm going to learn to hold space for all parts of me. What would happen if you became your actual true best friend? Like, what would happen if you learn to treat yourself the way you would, either the way you treat others if you're a really nice person, and or if you could imagine having a best friend being there for you, like it would be the best relationship you can possibly think. Your best friend would even like bring you a coffee surprise, like with our, like we're talking like the most, imagine if you had the opportunity, if you and I and had this opportunity, this changed my life. I guess this is what I want to share. Thank you for bringing that. Took a bit of time. I what changed a lot for me is like when I made that decision that, oh I don't like myself. That's not I do now, but I didn't. I really don't like myself. I'm stuck with myself. I don't like myself, and I'm gonna learn. I'm gonna learn to like myself. But now that I know what I know, is if you're in that space, I would say allow the part of you that you don't like or that you hate just to be seen. Allow that part of you to be present and to self-express and to feel that without any judgment. It's like imagine like a boardroom table and allow all parts, that part, the part that you don't like, why grab her a chair, invite her in without judgment and say, you are welcome. I will hold space for you. I will breathe, and I'm going to allow you to be here. And that, just doing that, allowing space for that which you actually hate or resent or don't accept, just allowing and breathing love is a form of acceptance and is a form of self-love. And I actually think love is the antidote to everything. Love is that's like, it's like that little secret antidote.
I agree.
Right? So like you, like that's, to me that's revolutionary. Like you could just, you don't have to do anything. You don't have to write any books right now. You don't have to do anything other than, can you be with the present experience that you're feeling and allow whatever is here to be here without judgment, and just like practice saying, I'm right here. Just that. If we taught that in school, if everyone knew this little system, it's a secret, like it's a little secret. Like a fast forward to feeling better in like a few minutes. Wow, we would, like, the whole planet would be different. Instead, we're not, this is not what's being portrayed. It's completely, it's judge yourself because you're not enough, and if this happened, well, shame on you because you're angry. Oh, you're angry, you shouldn't be angry. What the heck?
Yeah, and it all comes down, like it kind of loops all back around to holding space for ourselves and creating that space in our life to be able to do that. And thank you for sharing all of that, because compassion, I know whenever I say that I can feel it like my upper heart chakra, but it like compassion, it like eats through all of the other heavier emotions and really allows us to come back into our heart space of that place of love. And I truly do believe that if we could create a culture where we did start honoring ourselves as that number one priority and start dating ourselves as that first thing, that we would really start getting to know ourselves more. And start really having that deeper bond with ourselves. And that's really what's going to allow all of our other relationships to thrive, because if we're not knowing ourselves on that deep level, then how are we ever going to show up as our authentic selves when we don't even know what that authentic self looks like, because we're just living out of this all of the onion layers of what we perceived people would love us for or validate us for or accept us for from our external environment, which a lot of it just comes down from our childhood, which is crazy. And so I guess it's amazing because it's happening already, but like even you like teaching your kids that, like that's why your kids are so amazing, Amelie, because you have been doing the work for so long and really learning the skills, and you've invested a lot of money into your personal growth and learning these things. Like we said, we didn't learn this stuff Like, it
No.
is a vision of mine to be able to have all of this stuff in the education system. And I know it is changing. So even my niece, she's going to be going to a private school, and there they teach some of this stuff. And I'm going to make sure that I'm going to take a look at the curriculum and see what they do teach, and even maybe
That's
go
good.
in and do like a little workshop for the kids and stuff like that. So I know there is a lot
Yes.
of stuff where it is coming down into the ground level of the children to be able to learn this stuff. But I guess as a mom, as a parent, a lot of the time it can be easy for like, I know I see this a lot with people and their children, where they try to think that there's something wrong with their kids and they want to try to fix their kids, when in
Oh,
reality it comes down to the parent shifting those behavioral patterns, because kids are just a mirror image of the adults. And when the
and
adults can take that radical responsibility to shift their own behavioral patterns, the children will naturally fall in line. So I'd love it if you would just be open to sharing a little bit more about that, just from your experience with having kids, because obviously I don't have kids. I'm
yes,
now an aunt, which has been just so incredible, being able to become an aunt and be an influence in their life. But yeah, I would love it if you'd be able to share more about that.
yes, I will. And I'm excited for your project of bringing this type of work. Like, I believe it, like it's needed. Like, it's needed,
Yeah.
and I'm cheering you on and I'm supporting you into that.
Thank
Like,
you.
follow that. Follow
Yeah.
that. Like, follow that. But so yeah, going back with my kids, my God, like this is full that I think it's one of the point, like when I'm with them and I'm able to teach them, which is almost every day, like it just it makes me so happy. It makes me
Yeah.
so happy. So for example, the what I'm working with my, I mean, I'm working all the time, but one example is like they're doing math and they both don't really appreciate math so much, and it's been challenging right now where they are in high school. So we had a
Right.
lot of work to do with like, I want to have the good grades, and then like dismantling what it means to have good grades and what it means to do your best and how can you unplug. So like how is society like actually making you believe that if you do your best and you don't have a good grade, that again, that you're not enough, you're not worthy. So
Yeah.
it's like I am literally teaching everything that has helped me become the person that I am today. So in the tangible way, it's like they had a test this week and they have done the work. We have hired a tutor, like they've done everything. And they said, okay, I'm gonna do my best. I said, yes, you're gonna do your very best, and your best is enough. Your best is more than enough. I don't care what it is. I want to see you study and I want to see you do your work. The rest, you let it go. That's
Yeah.
just one example. Is that what you were looking for?
Yeah. Yeah. And you're a true embodiment of the work that you do, and your kids are just naturally going to pick up on that. But yeah, I love that. And it really is. So I guess where was it that you learned how to do this? Because like what was it that
Well,
you did? I know you've had coaches and mentors and stuff like that, but if you'd be open to sharing a little bit more about your actual journey of where you learned how to have
where
that inner self-awareness and
the biggest transformation, I mean, I've been doing personal development like for, I've been a coach. I have my certificate. I've been a coach since like July 1st 2004. Were you born? Just kidding. I was I was always passionate about personal development. So I have like a whole library, but the work, the very it's within the past 3 years when I did my master transformational certification with the mastery method school. That is where I literally was able and still am in the process to really practice this embodiment work. And
mm,
to me, a lot of my big wounds were linked to the lack of self-worth. That's what it
yeah,
was. And so that is what I this is what has completely like opened up and like changed this. The biggest transformation that I have done is since I have learned how to, like, first of all, that like I didn't know that, like, that I am and you are worthy as you are, like in this moment, like inherently worthy. So
mm,
like it was a misunderstanding programming that I believed that I wasn't unless I did this, unless I was skinnier, unless I did that I wasn't. So for me, the biggest part of my healing work has been like the moment that I realized that, you mean you're telling me that someone's born and they're worthy as they are, and that you never need to do. So sometimes, and in the practice work that I have done in the beginning, when I was new to this new idea that I am worthy, I'm worthy as I am of everything, just to breathe and just to be like, I am inherently worthy. Take a deep breath. As I am, nothing to do, nothing. Release it. I would go to bed and giggle and think, I would be like, oh my God. I subscribe to that, and I unsubscribe to the other one. So I laugh because so much of my life, my pressure was always trying to do everything to finally feel like I was worthy. But when I subscribe to this new idea that like life, not like nothing to do, no course to take, no weight to lose or gain. There's nothing else I need to do because I'm always amazing and worthy. And even if I feel like I'm not good enough, because sometimes it still comes up, it came before the life. It's just to be with that part of myself that feels that she's not good enough, and just be like allowed to feel not good enough. And I will make space for you. I will feel, we'll integrate these healing energy shadows of the past that have been like, they have a little pocket. We're going to go deeper into the onions and we're going to feel it. I'm going to speak, and maybe I'll write, maybe whatever. And then I'm just going to embody. That's the work, Laura. Embody, and I know you know that. Embody that which I'm choosing. I'm worthy. I'm embodying my worth right now. And my worth has nothing to do whether I even whether I can really create this beautiful business, or whether you create this beautiful. Your worth, my worth has nothing to do. Like if this was it for this world, if this was it, if we close the chapter right now on this, it's more than enough. And there was nothing else. That is like, to me, that's what this, like not just mind blowing, but like completely transformational, revolutionary.
Yeah. And that's where you really sink into that, like being in the present moment and feeling
Yes.
fulfilled, right? Because we're no longer chasing things.
Yeah.
We're no longer attaching, oh, I will be happy when I
Oh
achieve
my
this,
God. It's
or
really, yes.
this rat race that
Yes.
I know I've been in for a long time, and I still catch myself going back into that. It's like, no, just fucking take a deep breath and like, whew, everything that we've done up till this point has been perfect.
Yes. And when those moments shows up where you find yourself attached to that, because it does, to let that be allowed. That's it. It's like, oh, here you are. Okay, you're attached. Okay, I'm gonna give you space. You're freaking allowed to be attached. You're allowed to want to have a boyfriend now and think that it's not okay, that it's not there yet. And you are allowed. I will hold space for you, my friend. Something came up. You were saying, what do you tell to your kids? My kids, whenever they do something wrong, and then sometimes I'm like this embodied mom who's like, that is okay. You have made the mistake, and I honor you. And then sometimes it's like, so then I practice like self-forgiveness. But then if I say something to my children, and then they will say like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Like now I feel shame. I'll be like, that's okay that you feel shame. Allow yourself to feel it. And I want you to now forgive yourself. that is the word. Like I'm teaching them. Okay, so now you're gonna hold space for yourself, for the part of you that has the shame, and then you go ahead and forgive yourself for that shame, because you're allowed. Like that is, and I can't think, but like I can't imagine, but like their children, like if they choose to have children, because they don't have to. That's their life, and I'm just here to support. And I teach them. I say sometimes I have my beliefs, and you don't have to believe them. They're mine. I'm sharing them with you. Your job is to find who you are. Your job is to find what resonates and aligns with you. Not because I'm your mother that I know the truth. I know my truth of the moment, but it might not be your truth. And I love you unconditionally, whatever you decide. And I'm going to try to guide you to what I think is best. but ultimately your job is to this is what I teach them, which I didn't know. I didn't know how to connect with who I was, or my own self-trust, or so I'm like, trust yourself. Like, what does your soul whisper right now? What is the nudge? What is the pull? Just be with, like, this is the every, like, if we're so used to look outside for everything. I know I was looking outside my whole life. I know that, like,
Yeah.
tell me what I need to do, tell me what I'm not sure, because it was like a huge, again, the wound of the lack of self-trust. So the biggest thing that I'm doing with my children is I'm trying to teach them to look inward and to trust that that's enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting about like the attaching to things outside of ourselves as well, because I just like was having this conversation with my mom yesterday, actually, how coming into spirituality, and like there's a lot of stuff in that world as well where we still are giving our power away to a god or a higher power, when in reality it's like the human is here with full choice and free will of creating that reality. So by us being able to deepen that own trust within ourselves, and it's literally, it is that it's building that relationship. And that's something that's came up multiple times over the last few weeks, where it's like dating yourself and like really building that relationship with yourself and learning to trust yourself in your decisions and moving forward. Because then once we can do that, then we can, like you said, hold space for your kids, hold space for your friends, for your family, and then being able to like forgive ourselves when we don't show up as perfect, because we're humans. Things are messy. Things are always in transition. We're learning, we're growing, we're all doing this all at different rates and different speeds and learning different lessons all at different times. Like it's like a imperfectly perfect, like chaotic, like mess of growth, of development, of all of us evolving into who we're meant to be and what we're meant to create in this lifetime, all simultaneously in this moment. Like it's wild.
Yes. So it's a lot. So I just want to give a round of applause to all of you right now. It's a lot being a human, like being a human and navigating life is a lot on its own. Now, invite shadow work, invite healing. Like that's another journey. So if you're here, you're a freaking badass. I'm a badass. You're a badass. We're all a badass.
Yes, we're all hot babes and badasses.
We are so much. We're like a bunch of badasses. Just imagine all of us holding. Like I have this vision that we're like, "Hi, you're a badass. You're amazing. You're enough. You're worthy. You're worthy. You're enough. Don't need to change anything. Everything's on time. You got this. You got what you need. Perfect. You're good. Yeah. Are you fit? Yeah. Oh, imagine if we all had this understanding of awareness.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
It's like wow. It's like. Okay, it's okay. Even if it's not always, it's okay. Yeah.
And so advice, Amelie, for people who are in like, because I know like back when I like first got into this, I was still surrounded by people who didn't have this mentality, that were still kind of like stuck in the old ways of not really understanding that way of being. So any advice for people who are still surrounded by all of those people? Like what were some things that you did in those moments when you didn't have that around you, but you wanted to start breaking out of that paradigm into this new paradigm where you are surrounded by people who have this greater understanding and awareness?
That's a good question, because I'm still surrounded with certain people that don't understand. But it's a good question. How did I do? I felt lonely for the longest time. Like for the longest time, truthfully. But like, how do you feel like if you're breaking out? Try to find groups of people that have vibes with you. Like if you vibe with this energy, find groups that you have that type of energy. Like find a community of people that you can start having different type of conversation that aligns more with what your soul. And here's the thing, sometimes there will be breakdown of friendships, because it's no longer in energetic attunement. I know it happens for me. Breakdown of relationship, friendship, work, all kinds, because you're literally transitioning into a different frequency of embodiment. Your mind is changing, your emotion is changing, your frequency, your everything about you is changing. And since we are energy being, we are emitting different frequencies. Therefore, everything that which is no longer in energetic resonance with that is going to no longer be a match. It will be in like dissonance. So
Yeah.
if you're in that space, and you might need to feel a little bit alone for a little bit to give you that space to do your inner healing work. Oftentimes, that's the way that it's this guy. At least it was for me. I was alone for many
Yeah.
years. I was crying a lot, but I didn't know what I knew. I wish I was equipped with the tools that I now have, but I guess finding communities, literally finding people that actually speak the same language as you, and trusting that if they're not there yet, to intentionally call them forward, and trusting and honoring the part of you that really is lonely and or really would like it to be now. I know that was me. That was me for the longest time. And calling in, we are powerful co-creator, we are powerful manifester, and that before anything happens, it's all done in the energetic. And I'm still practicing and embodying that and all that. Yes, someone
Yeah.
sent a light. Stuck Sylvia. I hope that resonated with you.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that was amazing. Thank you for sharing that. And I know I can share a little bit from my personal experience with it as well, because it's like when we're in that environment that you, like you said, doesn't have that resonance anymore, it becomes uncomfortable for us to be there. And I know for me, when it came to, and I'm sure you can relate to this as well, when it came to my job as a paramedic, things just weren't feeling aligned anymore. I didn't know, and I started calling in sick all the time, and I just didn't want to get out of bed in the morning to go, and all of this stuff. I
It's,
knew it wasn't in alignment. And I'm so grateful that I had connections like people like you within the Isogenics community
yeah,
that I saw so much light in. However, there was still, from where I was in that moment to the light that I saw in other people, was a massive polarity difference. And I
yeah,
knew that that's where I wanted to go, but it was intimidating, and it triggered a lot, activated a lot of unworthiness within myself, or the inability to fit in those groups, because I
yeah,
felt so different from it. And the biggest recommendation that I can make for anybody that is feeling that, where you know somebody or you see somebody that has that light within that you are wanting to begin to embody, it's within you, because you wouldn't have that desire if it wasn't already something within you, is to just friggin' leap. Because I remember showing up like on, like, even if they're online calls or going to different group things, and I would be so scared, be having like crazy social anxiety, like showing up to these things. But fear is like, we're never going to not have fear. It's
right.
there to keep
It's
us
there all
safe.
the
But when
time.
we can acknowledge it, exactly, when we can
Yes,
acknowledge it and say, thank you so much for trying to keep me safe, but using our higher consciousness and our ability to be like, I know that this is something safe for me to go do, and push ourselves through it and experience that maybe discomfort on the other end, knowing what that end goal is, or the end vision of what we are going to experience from that. It creates a huge leap, like a quantum leap into something different.
yeah,
And when we can put ourselves into groups of people that are what we want to embody, we will naturally start
yeah,
soaking up this energy and the verbiage and everything from those people. And we will then start being able to then embody those things ourselves. So it's kind of like, it sometimes
it,
can be that awkward in between moment where like, that's what I want, but it seems way
yes.
too far off. But sometimes it does take that
And
leap.
I love that you said that, because I had that too. I remember, um, I didn't understand it then, but if you have that, like that pull, yeah, that discomfort, and like the biggest thing is just to be with whatever is, and
Yeah.
to observe. Because if it's like a projection, like projection can be positive and they can be negative, and that is what we do. We project,
Yeah.
we project that which we are internally feeling, but that might be an unconscious way. So that little awkwardness, because I know I had it when I joined Isogenics too. I had it when I was around people, that were embodied in their authentic truth. I didn't know, but then I was triggered. I didn't know
Mm-hmm.
what is this that I energetically am being triggered right now. I
Yeah.
didn't understand then, but the trigger was then. Now that I know, it was like, it was my soul wanted so bad to be free, and I hadn't yet done any other work to allow that. So then when I observed that, I had a negative projection of what I thought, I can't do this. So I was judging. I was judging parts of myself that I wasn't able to come out, if that makes sense. But
Yeah.
I didn't know that. But now that I know now, if any one of you watching, or if you're experiencing projection where you observe someone and then it triggers within you something that is not necessarily positive, because projection can be very, very positive. You like see someone like we're doing projection work right now. You and I are we're celebrating you. Oh yeah, I'm so excited. Like that's positive projection. But
Yeah.
the other polarity is also a beautiful teacher, because if you are triggered, like for example, I imagine, like you told me, like you're doing some acting now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I could be triggered because like maybe secretly I want to be an actress. I don't, and I'm not, but I'm just using that as it would be amazing even if it was, but I'm not. But like if I was, then it would be like, oh, there's a part of me that thinks that she can't have that. So how do you go from that?
Mm-hmm.
You be with that part. You heal. You
Mm-hmm.
hear. You do the work. It's like as soon as you get those little trigger moments that show up that makes you feel like you're not good enough, it's like being with these parts of you and and allowing that, and then doing the reprogramming about it. That's all it is. It's an energetic feeling, the misunderstanding. Once that's done, you can turn those one into positive projection.
Yeah.
And then you become inspired. So then you start going to those places to meet people, and then when you see them, you're like, if they can do it, I can too. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And
Yeah.
then it becomes like, okay, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I did a podcast with Melissa Byers 2 episodes ago, and
Yes, I didn't
she
listen to it yet. I'm so
oh, it's
excited.
amazing. If you get a chance to go watch it, go listen to it. She's
Mhm.
just incredible. I know you know that, but
She
anybody
is. I
who's
love
listening to
Melissa.
this,
I
yeah,
love
go
her.
check that out, because she mentions in it courage over confidence. And in the beginning, when we're doing anything new, we must have that courage to break through that fear. And as we continue to show up doing that in repetition, then we start building the confidence in whatever it is that we're looking to achieve.
That's right.
And I know for me, as somebody who's always been a high achiever, I would always stick to the things that I was really good at, which
Right.
was sports, which was education, and
Mm.
and stuff in my career and my profession. That was stuff that I was always very good at. So I would stick with it when it came to relationships, and entrepreneurism. I had no clue about that, and to me that was something that was new. So I always wanted to kind of stay in there. So it takes that courage to be able to jump into it, and then through that repetition, and that comes down to like releasing this perfectionism that we have, where we
Uh,
can't show up as our authentic self, or we have
yeah.
these fears of judgments, or all of these fears of what other people are going to think of us, or not fitting in, and all of these deep rooted wounds that we hold, to be
Mm.
able to really start building
Mm.
that repetition, so that we can start building that confidence, but knowing that whenever we start something new, we're not going to be good at it. Like the most professional athletes, like they didn't just show up their first like practice and they were just like amazing, right? And anything, like it's like I'm not too sure where that came in for me, but probably like you were sharing, even in the education system and stuff like that. I know I've had many chats with my mom about that. My mom used
Yeah.
to be like, I'd get like 98% on the test, and she'd be like, oh, if you got 98, you could get 100. And in her mind it was like encouraging, but to me I'm like, what the fuck, like nothing
Yeah.
is ever good enough,
Never
right? So then it
enough. Never,
oh, I
never,
love that
never
song.
enough.
The Greatest Showman. Oh, so good.
You were saying something, and then I had something that popped, and now it came because I wanted to sing, but you I had something I wanted to add that just it's like there's like a thought that came and said, "Can you share me?" It's gone. I guess
It's gone.
it wasn't meant to be.
Yeah,
It was,
maybe they'll come back through again. But yeah,
yeah.
just that courage over confidence, and really being able to branch out into those things that you want, because underneath all of those things are our deepest desires. Like our desires and the things that excite us are truly the compass for where we're meant to go.
It's
My
the
mom's in the
compass.
comments. She says good intentions. I love
Good
you, Mom.
intent. I love it. Thanks. I think it came back. I wish. I think I would tell. Like if I knew. It took me 9 years to launch my YouTube channel. It took me 9 years
Yeah.
to launch it, and I want to tell you why it took me 9 years. And even when I launched it, I was terribly terrified and feeling so not good enough. And I mean, is if my welcome video, as I look at it now, I need to update. It's like, oh girl, I love you. You have done you so sweet. You have grown, sweetheart. Like, come here,
I feel
give
that
me
all
the
the
hug.
time.
But
And when you're accelerating so fast, it's literally like I do one video and then like the next day I'm like, ooh.
but I so wish, we could just give a permission slip to everyone. Like here it is. Here, I have a permission
Guys,
slip.
here's your permission slip. Get ready for it.
Yeah, your permission slip right now. So it has all your name. It says your name, Laura, and it has like June and the Majestic Creator and all of you. So this is a permission slip. This permission slip allows you to try anything new without needing to be perfect. As a matter of fact, this permission says show up without makeup in gym clothes, showered, not showered, it doesn't matter. That permission allows you to just do it imperfect. Actually, it wants you to do it imperfect. It's the permission that you get to, oh, I get goosebumps. You get to do what is calling you and then celebrate the big imperfection and laugh. That is the permission slip it's worth a lot of money. So anything you want to start, the business, the channel, the podcast, the speaking, the writing, the editing, the dancing, the swimming, the painting, all of that, that's a permission slip for you to try to do it. But like, I don't want it perfect. I just want it to be you. I want you to give yourself that permission to go ahead and do what calls at you. I wish I had a permission slip years ago, because it held me back from everything. I had this idea that if I wasn't perfect, what the heck is perfect anyways, but I had this plug-in conditioning to the matrix that I have to show up a certain way. I can't be me. No, you have permission actually. And what? Oh, okay. I'm reading the fine print. Wait, there's a fine print.
Oh, that always gets me.
The fine print says, oh, here's the fine print. You're not allowed, when you're going to try this permission slip, it's like you have to be authentically you in your bravery, in a vulnerable way. That permission slip has the big word courage on it. It's calling for your courage.
Yeah.
So if you're getting this permission slip to do something when perfect, like launching these things in school project, permission, Laura, and anyone else, permission to check in, birth a project, and go without knowing how it's going, and trusting and being brave and courageous. That it's amazing. Like that permission to give voice and birth, and like to that permission in your bravery, imperfect. You don't need to have your makeup done, your hair washed, none of it. You could have the ugliest sweater on. Permission to, even if you're having babies and there's vomit because like it throw up, permission to do that with that. Permission that when you're doing something, there's like the dog and the whoa, whoa, whoa. And it's permission in the chaos of like this like normalcy. Permission. That is it. I wish I had a permission. I'm crying. Thank you. You're welcome. I hope you received that. You have permission. You have permission, and I don't give you permission. That is a permission that is yours. It's just you just didn't know and you forgot. It's not. I don't give that. It's maybe today if you needed to grab it, then please allow. It's a pay it forward permission. Take it and then show up, and then pay it forward. Pay forward this permission slip to someone else, because wow. All you need to do is literally be yourself, authentically and brave. I posted a video today on TikTok and I'm like, it's a little vulnerable because I did something a little vulnerable. I gave myself permission to be vulnerable. I was dancing and I actually was singing with my own voice, something super cheesy, affirmation, cheesy and tacky, but my soul wanted me to share that. So I had a choice. I either deny it and keep it to myself because I'm too afraid of what, like, if someone's gonna say it, or I'm like, that's okay. I'm a little bit sometimes cheesy. And I'm just gonna own that, and I'm just gonna share that
Yeah.
permission for that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's beautiful. And the more that we start expressing outwardly all of these parts of ourselves that we normally hide, the more we start bringing in the acceptance and loving
That's
ourselves for our whole entire being because we're so multidimensional.
We're
All of
so
it.
amazing. And the soul, that's
Yeah.
all it wants. That's all it wants. It's like, you're amazing. I just want you to see you. You're amazing. You're enough. You're brave. You're courageous. You got everything in you. You don't need to be like Cindy or like Jackson there. Just the world needs you as you are.
Yeah.
Like, express that. The world needs all of your creative expression in this unique way. There's no one like you that is doing that which you're doing. Even if there's a lot of people doing what you do, no one has the DNA code like you. No one is bringing those codes. No one is has the same frequency alignment. That's why if once you wake up and you understand that what your mission, your work, you're showing up, you're actually touching the souls you're meant to touch, and it's like a puzzle. And everyone, when we do that, even though that's why the more we compare ourselves to other people, which is very guilty, I have done so much, and I still catch myself, and I have to hold space. I'm still embodying and practicing that. I was like, no, wait. I had this week. I was like, okay, my website. Do I do this? Is this person's doing this? Is this person? I had this moment where I was like, the F, Amelie, stop, wait. It's like, you gotta just come back. Whoa, like, it's okay. And it's okay that you went everywhere. It's okay, but like, the world needs you. The world needs you. So like, how are you gonna bring that out? And it has to be with your flavor and your way. And the more you think that it has to be like someone, the more diluted you dilute yourself. Wow, like that to me, like, wish I understood that. And I wish I even I wish I was even more embodied into that. And that's okay. It's okay, right? Hold space for that part. Lots of holding space. It's what I do with my children a lot. There's
Yeah.
lots of holding space.
Yeah, it's so necessary. Thank you so much for sharing that. I don't know if everybody else who's in the comments or listening to this just got like a huge transmission. And I'm like, my body's like, don't receive all of it. It's like, no, receive all of it.
I felt like it. I was like, I don't even know what I'm saying.
Yeah,
I
no,
don't
it
even
was
know what I said.
incredible. Yeah, you can
I
re-listen to it and just blast it back at yourself because you're just
Yeah.
incredible, and you just literally just sent the most incredible transmission to all of us to really believe in ourselves, and everything you shared is just so on point. And thank you for just following your soul's expression
Thank you. Thank you
and
so much.
allowing that to come through. Yeah.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for being such a brave, bold, and like willing to disrupt soul. You're such like you're so loving. Like everyone that
Aw.
comes in your presence, they just see your most unconditional love. You're so loving. You're so talented. You have so much gift to offer. You inspired me. You're like, I'm honored to be your friend. I'm honored that you invited me on your podcast and that you shared. And I'm excited for you to continue to do the work like I am and
Yeah.
expand, because this is the time. Like, if I like it's time, because like this is the rebuilding phase of what's coming. Like all hands on deck, and
Yeah.
no pressure on anyone, but like, can we just connect to our heart and lead with our soul? Like, that is can you connect, like, literally with your heart, and lead with your soul, and birth the project that are calling at you? Allow the nudges and just act on them. Allow the nudges, act on them. Allow the nudges, act, trust, heal, grow, trust, continue. Breakdown is always followed by massive breakthrough, and eventually it's not as hard. The breakdowns are not as hard. Although my breakdown last week was very hard. Wouldn't lie, it was hard, but it's okay because
Yeah.
we can do this. There's nothing we
Yeah.
cannot go through, and your soul came here for that. Your soul came exactly. Your soul came in exactly. Your soul chose that. Your soul chose to be here right now in this moment. So stop. I wrote a post today. I said that I had I had put myself a restraining net on myself. It's time to remove the fishing net and allow all of it to come out. So thank you so
Yeah.
much. Thank you, Laura, for having me.
Yeah, thank you so much for acknowledging me in that. It's interesting because like I would been had because I started my podcast a couple of years ago when I was in Colombia.
Mm-hmm.
And I started it, and then for a while when I was like hitting my deep healing work, I
Yeah.
like stopped doing it because I didn't have the capacity or space to hold for it. And for quite a while now it's been coming back up where it's like, Laura, like it's been calling at me, like that soul where it's like
Yes,
it's time, like
that's
you are so ready to do this. And I
you
mentioned on the
are.
very first episode where I was like, no, like I was nervous to come on here and do that. But like,
Yeah.
once again, we all have those intuitive callings within us as where we're meant to be in this moment. And when we start actually trusting and honoring that inner part of ourselves to show up in vulnerable ways, I love how you mentioned vulnerability because that's huge, just being able to show up
Show
in
up
that vulnerability, knowing
in
that it's
the vault.
exactly what's meant to be.
Because when we show up, I got goosebumps. That's the code. When you show up vulnerable and you're like, you just leave it, then again, you give permission slip to someone else to be.
Yeah.
And then if we all give ourselves that permission to be vulnerable and to say, oh, I'm doing that, but I'm kind of scared. I'm doing that, but I'm kind of nervous. Doing that, but I don't feel like quite adequate for that. Just naming that, like, it's just, okay, that's all right. Okay.
Yeah.
It's okay that you feel inadequate. Let me hold you.
Yeah.
Again, let me hold you. Let's
Mm-hmm.
heal and let's move. And let's reprogram the misunderstanding.
Yeah. Yeah, and I remember too, like in the beginning, like being around you and Alex, you guys were both so vulnerable. And when you two would be vulnerable and share things, like it was almost uncomfortable for me because I was still so closed off at that point.
Right.
And it's like the
And
more that we are vulnerable, the more it kind of starts bringing that out of everybody else, which deepens the healing process for
yeah.
everybody.
Yes, I can imagine that maybe there was a part of you that's like, how the heck is this like, is it safe?
I'm like, how are
Is
they
it
so
safe?
self-aware? I'm like, what is like I would just had like head tilt like a dog. Like I'm like,
Yeah,
huh?
like, oh, oh, oh,
Yeah.
like, what is
Literally.
that?
Because I would just have no concept of because my inner awareness was not there. So when I would hear other people talking about stuff, I would always think about Alex. I'm like, how are you so young? How many lives have you lived within this life? You've experienced so much. But it was all just because I had suppressed all of that stuff. And then now it's been coming back up since I've gone through my healing journey. I'm like, holy crap, I feel like I've lived lives upon lives in this life too.
Right?
But it's
Right?
like just so interesting to see the transition. But it is all that ripple effect of us as we continue to show up in our vulnerability exactly where we're at. There's always going to be people that are receiving from what we're presenting always,
Yes.
whether it's in our imperfectness, whether it's in our perfectness, whether it's we're not showing up the way that we want to, whether we're showing
Right.
up in other ways. It's always exactly what's meant to be received on the other end from
Yes.
it. Thank you
100%.
so much for being on here with me, Amelie. I would love to know
Yeah.
if anybody in the comments wants to join on live and ask a question. Feel free to request to join in. And I'll give just a hot second for people if anybody does want to join in on the conversation to feel free and I put a request in. And as we're waiting for that, I would love to know if you were to leave this planet tomorrow, what is the one little nugget of wisdom that you would love to leave with everybody?
Well, I'd like it to sound different, but what came is like, you've always been enough. Just remember and embody that. I guess that's part of my big mission, this not enoughness. Like, it doesn't sound wild and like brilliant right now, but that's the core of why I'm here. And it's like, yeah, it's like, it's like Emily would like you to remember that you're enough as you are.
Yeah.
Breathe that in.
And it's very
I
simple,
would
but
add breathe that in.
Everybody just take a moment and breathe that in. Yeah, let's
Breathe
just
that
sit in
in.
it, bask in it. You are enough. Yeah. I love you so much.
And then underneath is like, remember to play. Don't be so serious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think anybody wants to join us. Maybe it's a little bit of fear of popping on live. If you guys have questions, you want to put them in the comments
Yeah.
before we do
And,
pop off, then feel free.
yeah. And that's okay. It can be intimidating to go live.
Yeah.
Every time I remember showing up at event, every time I would raise my hand to speak, my heart would go boom, boom,
Oh, yeah.
boom, boom. Like, oh my God. I'm like, what is that? Like, I haven't done anything. I'm just like, I just literally just went like that. And then
Yeah, and then you don't even remember what the heck you're meant to say. You're just like, oh God, all the emotions come flooding in, and you're just like, oh.
yeah, and then the cry. June is saying angel bumps. Yes, angel bumps.
Yeah. Thank you so much to everybody that is here in the
Thank
comments
you
with
for everything.
us.
Thank you,
Yeah, we
beautiful.
love you so much. And thank you so much, Amelie, for just taking your time and being here with us and having
Thank
this
you for
incredible
having me.
conversation. Thank you for going through all of your ups and downs and challenges and always continuing to get up and get back into the game. And I am actually very excited for you because I know you had a big breakdown last week. So I'm very excited to see the big, massive breakthrough that comes
I
through for you.
feel like I told my husband yesterday, and literally last week, it was very intense. And I'm telling you, paint the picture like it was. And then yesterday, my husband came. I said, he's like, "How are you?" Because how are you? I'm doing great. I'm having a great day. I'm going, oh, that's good. I said to him, I don't know if it's like, I said, I don't know what it is. I don't know what happened. Something has shifted. I said, I feel so confident. I'm like, like, I don't know if it's just temporary confidence, but like, I feel it. So I'm just going to continue to ride this embodied confidence and like certainty way while doing that. And he's like, good. Like, so to be followed, it doesn't matter where that's going. It doesn't matter, but it's just, I'm just great. So I'm just in gratitude. It's important to practice, right? Every time after break, every time I'm like, thank you so much. I feel better. Thank you. Thank you. Oh my God. I don't take feeling good for granted. I don't take anything for granted. Nothing. I don't take the sun, the trees, my breath, I don't take anything for granted. So I'm like, oh, thank you. We have released a big wave. Wow. Woo. This is nice.
Yeah.
This is nice.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Someone said, I'm having a blank right now. I love this so much. I pop on. That's okay, Andrea. Thank you so much for tuning in. And it's okay if you have a blank brain. That's okay. It's okay. But thank you for commenting, and I'm glad that you're here.
Mom, do you want to just explain what do you mean by someone wants to pop on? No, I think they said that they would love to, but they're not going to pop on. Just from the peanut gallery over here. That's okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much, Amelie, for coming on, and for everybody that's been here with us. And yeah, you're just such a true gift to, I know, my life massively, 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 and to everybody who's been on here listening and to the world. You just show up and you're just incredible, and your energy is just transmitting and changing things on a deeper level than you would ever imagine.
Thank you for saying.
Really honoring you for all of the work you've done and where you're headed, and I'm so excited to see where everything goes for you.
Thank you, Laura. And you have held so much space for me throughout the years also. Like, let's not forget that. You have held me in times where I was in my own, struggling with my own inner, I don't know why the word demons comes in, but whatever, that my own inner dark shadow. You remember that. So thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for that, what you've done and continue to do. And I'm excited to continue to be more connected with you. These past 2 years is like, where did we go? Where's everybody? Hello?
Seriously. I think everybody kind of went into this like inner growth. Like, it's the cocoon, and now we're coming out into these butterflies. And so today, I don't know if you knew, this is actually a new moon and solar eclipse.
No, is it today, love?
It's today, yeah.
Oh my God, that's
no,
beautiful.
tomorrow. Today or tomorrow?
Okay, I don't know.
It's here though, but it's eclipse season, so there's going to be big things coming. So it makes sense why you're.
It's
Aw.
time. The dog is agitated. It's time. It's time to say
He's ready to
goodbye.
go. Yeah. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much, Emily.
I'm sorry
And
for you.
that's okay. No worries whatsoever. And if anybody is wanting to catch the next one live, just check out the Instagram page. Oh, before we go, Emily, how can people get in contact with you? How can people reach out to you if they're wanting to do coaching with you, if they're wanting to
Thank,
tap into anything that you're doing?
thank you. So I have a website right underneath the Instagram bio. So
Beautiful.
if you click there, there's a place where you have access to my YouTube channel. Where if you are ever considering to do one-on-one, there is an application form, and then I will launch as well. In the process, I'm being called. Yesterday after the breakdown, there is something that is begging. I took so much note and it was so amazing. There's a group program coming, and it's like I'm so excited. I've been so scared to do. It's the program has been calling at me, but now I feel like it's actually there, so that it's coming. So if you want to reach out, just check in, DM me, I don't know, do that. I also have a free activation. I just created that. I'm very proud. I have a free little gift activation in my website.
Wow.
And so, yeah, you can reach out. I'd love if anyone feels connected to my energy. And if anyone else is connected to your energy, please trust that. Trust Laura. Whoever is here now and you watch her for years and you're like, I like her and her vibe and I wonder, there's a reason why. Trust that. Trust your inner pull to what it is, because your work is incredible. So I'm also reflecting back, because sometimes, like, trust your resonance with whatever, trust yeah, that's what I'm practicing, to trust really the resonance of like what feels more. We are pulled in so many different ways. We always have to come back to, okay, but what's in alignment with myself right now? Even though this makes so much sense, but like that doesn't feel good, right? So trust that. So
Yeah.
thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. That's a whole other conversation, the logic versus the
I know.
intuition.
Right. Yeah, that's another podcast. And
Yeah.
I'm glad you're back on your podcast.
Oh, thank you. I know. I'm so happy to be here as
Mhm.
well. It's so great. Yeah. So thank you so much for being on here. And for anybody who would like to catch the next one live, check out my Instagram page at Laura Plahuta. And if you feel called to share this episode, please do. Because I know Emily is incredible. And I know there's so many people that could value from all of the wisdom and inspiration and energy that Emily just
Mm-hmm.
graciously offered to all of us.
Thank
And
you.
yeah, thank you to everybody who's been on here and just continuing to open up your heart, to expand your mind to an
Yeah.
entirely new way
You're
of being.
amazing. You're
Thank you,
amazing. Anyone
Emily.
who is tuning, you were supposed to be here. If you've actually listened this to the end, wow. Like
Yeah,
you're
literally.
yeah,
We're coming
you're
up on almost 2 hours,
yes,
which we
exactly.
should
If
have
you
known would
listen,
happen.
thank you for being you. Be you, connect, you're enough, you're worthy, and the world needs your magic. So trust that. Trust that. Yeah.
Amazing. Okay, well, we love you so much, Emily, and thank you so much.
So much love.
Mwah.
Bye, my love. Thank you,
Bye.
everybody. Have a great
Love
weekend,
you.
everyone. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.